Hey guys, it's me Maddie. Thank you for coming back to another video. So in this video I wanted to give you guys an update over what happened, why I'm no longer living in the van, why I'm no longer a van lifer, and why I'm in a house. Let's get into it. Grab some water. Look how cool this is, guys. Like, this is such a vibe. So grab some water, take a sip, and relax, because we're gonna talk about all of this right now. I have iron water, so it's like, it's got that bloody taste to it. Okay, so let's begin. I want to start from the very beginning of all the van life ideas and everything. I want to start all the way back. Winter of 2020, and I was a full-time college student going through a applied science degree program, and I was going to graduate and go to hygiene school. That was the goal. I was halfway into the semester and all of a sudden something crazy happened. COVID happened, and I had never heard of anything like it, and they shut down the school and I wasn't allowed to go to school. I was sent home to do all my homework on the computer. So I was a part-time lifeguard and I was a full-time student, and I just had so much going on in my life that with studying, because I was doing some intense classes like anatomy, that I didn't ever have time to stop and really think about my life. And when COVID-19 hit, I had a lot of time on my hands. I mean, I was getting unemployment, so because my employee, the YMCA as a lifeguard, completely shut off. And so I started getting benefits, and I just had all this money coming in, and I was sitting at home bored out of my mind. Like, I would do my homework like that because there's nothing else to do. I have no work. Yeah, so that happened. I started getting unemployment checks, and these checks, if you guys remember, they were like $600 a week, and some people got $800. I mean, this was big checks. All this money was coming in. I had no job, no homework, and then once everything just kept flowing, I was bored out of my mind. I started working out a lot. I started, just trying to read, get into something. I was so bored during quarantine, and I think everyone was. Then after everything happened with my classes, and I finished up classes, summer hit. I had so much time on my hands to think about my life and how it was going that I actually had time to think about what I didn't like about my life. It's the beginning of the summer, it's around April, and I have this idea click, and I really want a van. So I decided that year I would work my tail off all summer, and I would buy a van next year. So 2020 was quite a wild year. I went and I got a job as a bartender, or a cart girl, you could say, at a golf course, and I worked all the time. I started saving up money. The unemployment benefits quit, unfortunately. With all of that work, I had managed to save up more than $23,000. And so I was really good with saving money, and I'm not even kidding. I would eat like a bird. I would save money so bad because I wanted to do the van life. So fast forward, the year goes by, I go back to college, I finish my science degree, applied science, and I graduate May of 2021. But before I graduate of 2021, April of that year, I'm sitting there in class and I'm thinking, okay, I've got to buy a van. I've got to buy this van before I can do anything, because I know I'm going to graduate in May and I'm just going to sit at home. That's when I decided that I need to start looking for a van. So April, I would say March and April, I started really looking for a van. And then, I'm not completely correct on these dates, guys, because it's been a whole year since I did this, but started looking for a van, and I found one on Facebook Marketing by a woman who was selling it because she needed to move out and she didn't have the space for the van anymore. Down in North Carolina, Asheville. I messaged her. I came down there with my brother and mom, and we took a look at the van, and I mean, it took one look for me and I was in love. I mean, we roll up to this van and it's got the high roof, which I saw in the pictures, but in person, it's so much more special in person, like actually seeing the van. I mean, she sent me pictures of it, but when I came in person, I saw that, it just had everything I've ever wanted. And I knew that it was an older look that I could fix up and make it look really cool. Got it for a really good price, and she was great. I went to the bank, and the next day we signed some papers and the van was mine. We get back to Virginia, and right then and there, it's April. I just start taking the van and cleaning it and totally renovating the inside, because I knew as soon as I get done with this renovation, the van is going on the road. And so because I had spent so much money renovating the van, buying the van, I decided that I need to go back to working for that summer. So I worked all summer of 2021 trying to save up enough money for my van trip, because I knew it was going to be a long one. September 12th was my last day at work, and I told everyone goodbye. I have the date right here. September 15th, because I took a picture of my van for the first time. I was taking my van out, and so it was the first time I drove an hour away from my home, and I just decided that that was the day I was gonna leave. I didn't say goodbye to anyone. I got in the van, I started driving up north to pick up my friend Simran. My best friend Simran, he completed the Appalachian Trail. He was up in Baxter State Park, so I went there, but him and his buddies that graduated from the trail went down to Portland, Maine. So I ended up going to Baxter State Park, which was awesome. I saw some moose and stuff. There's a whole vlog about it. And then I started dropping down and going to Portland, Maine. Picked him up in Portland, Maine, had a great first trip. Like, it was awesome. I hit all the New England states. It was amazing. I brought him back, and that trip was just, I had such a good time. You guys can see in the video I was really having a great time. And then the second trip, I actually ended up going out west. I was on a roll, you know. After the first trip, the second trip came more naturally. It was a little harder doing it by myself because I was used to Simran, but the second trip was great. I went to Glacier. I went, oh, so many cool places. I went to Chicago, the Great Lakes of Michigan. Great time, just can't complain. When I was out in Yellowstone, I got a call from my sister saying that my mom had COVID and that she went to the hospital. I knew she had COVID before. Like, we had been talking about how they got COVID and all that, but then she ended up going to the hospital. So that's when I came straight home. I mean, I drove for 27, I think it was almost 30 hours in the matter of 3 days. I just drove home. And I was gonna hit California and just keep going out west, but I decided to come home to see my mom. My mom got better, and just God really took care of everything there. Time for the third trip. First trip up north, second trip out west. Third trip was going to be down south, around the border, and then up all the way to California, hit Washington, then make my way back. I got packed up and I left. Now I dropped down, went down to Tennessee. This is like prime fall time now. I went down to Tennessee, and there was this very sad feeling to come over me once I had left my family. I knew it was gonna be rough, but whew, because I had been back with my family and I had gotten so close to them. The first trip I was with Simran, I was good. Second trip, I'm fresh. I've never been by myself. I was excited, never been out west. Third trip, it was just different. I would go on hikes and everything, but nothing like the first and second trip. I was really struggling, like getting excited about stuff. I got better. I went to Georgia. I got all the highs out of Georgia. Savannah, Georgia, absolutely loved it. Always wanted to go there, so it was really cool seeing it. Florida, Alabama, all those southern states was super cool seeing. Texas, I saw Dallas, Texas. It was amazing. It was so cool being there, and I've never seen anything quite as stretched out and as big as that, because I had been to Chicago before and it was nice, but nothing like, wow, everything is really bigger in Texas. The trip went really good up until I hit New Mexico. You will notice in my vlogs, after I hit Texas, I almost completely stopped filming. And I was out there and my phone wasn't working very well. Like, I think I would have like 1 or 2 bars here and there. I didn't have any way to communicate with my family. The van was freaking hot in the daytime, like miserable hot, and then at night it was freezing, and I was just really burnt out. Like, I had been traveling at that point for 3.5, almost 4 months, and I was so burnt out. You got to remember, I was up to 42 states I had completed, and I was just like, I'm so tired of traveling. And at one point I stopped at this gas station in New Mexico and I just started crying. I mean, it had finally all come to a point of, this is not even fun anymore. This has become a chore, and I don't like driving, and I do not like to travel at this point. I'm just so tired, and I want something familiar. I want to smile and talk to someone that I'm familiar with. I don't like being alone. I was in such a dark spot. I was alone, I was cold, I was scared, and I really didn't care. I just, you know, found a place to sleep, and I just cried myself to sleep. And I wake up crying. I would literally go to sleep crying, wake up crying. It was the same. When your emotions get that high, you can't hide them anymore. And who am I hiding them from? Like, I literally had no one but God to talk to. California was nice. I got to see the ocean again, which was really fun, and I really did enjoy seeing the ocean. But and money started to be a problem. I started getting really worried about money once I hit California, because gas was $5.80 a gallon, which sounds like a bargain now, right? But at the time it wasn't. Money started to become a problem. And once I went all the way up to Oregon, California, I went through Mount Satasha, went all the way up to Oregon. It was great, you know, didn't have too much problems there. But nothing really was phasing me. It's very challenging for me to talk about because I like being positive. I've always been a positive person. I like to think I've been. And so for me to like just wake up crying, being upset, and saying how miserable I am, and I wasn't happy. I wasn't close to God. I wasn't praying as much. I wasn't reading my Bible as much. But my dad said, I'll never forget when I was in New Mexico, he's like, Maddie, you have to talk to God about this and read your Bible and go back to what you know is right. I never was like not a Christian, don't get me wrong. Like, I always, you know, had him with me. It's the fact that I had abandoned my relationship with him because I started getting so caught up in other things, so caught up in getting to the next place, getting to the next. It started like becoming a checklist. Just check Dallas, check Tampa, Florida, check Las Vegas. It was like an actual checklist, and I didn't even care about the experience I was having. It was just did it, done, move on. And I hated that. And the last state finally came, Colorado. And once I hit Colorado, I was done. Colorado was the last state that I completed. I just had Alaska to do, but last state of the road trip. And I drove back home, and I stopped by Georgia because I really had a good time in Georgia and thought maybe I would want to move there. I went to Georgia and realized that that's just not my cup of tea. So I was there, and I missed Thanksgiving, unfortunately. I didn't make it back in time. I was still on the edge saying I don't want to go home because then everyone's going to be like, oh my gosh, you went on this great road trip and you're back home, like what happened? So I was really dreading going home. I was going to spend a whole week in South Carolina for my last trip, and I'll never forget, I woke up one morning. I had booked this campsite, you know, for me to stay at, and I had went walking on the beach, and I said, you know, I'm done. What am I doing? You know, I want to go home. I want to go see my family. I want to go see my cats. At that point, I had decided that it was time to go, and I'm no longer happy with being on the road. I'm not enjoying experiences. The money's getting drained, and I'm ready to go home. And so that was the day. And I called my dad when I was an hour away, and I said, hey Dad, I'm coming home. And I'll never forget the way he acted. I don't know why, this makes me emotional. He said, really? And I said, yeah, I'm in, and I told him a town that's close to our house, and he said, oh, well, come on home, baby. I'll get the place set up for your van. And I was so welcomed when I came home. My mom was so nice, my dad, and I was so happy because I realized that I had a great family at home, and I had a place to live, and I had so many people that cared about me at home, and it wasn't all just alone in this terrible life that I thought. I didn't have to worry about where I was going to stay. Like, every night I had to worry about, is this gas station going to kick me out? Is this Walmart parking lot going to kick me out? It was so stressful for that part, and just scary, honestly, like not knowing where you're going to stay every single night. It's like that for, you know, like 5 months. So when I got to come home and my mom and dad hugged me, and I got to see my siblings and be at the place I grew up at, it was just so nice. So yeah, but that's where you'll find me. My van is at home, parked next to my family's place, and really exciting stuff's gonna come up to the van. Exciting stuff is happening, and I just have to wait for a new season to start in my life that God is preparing for me. So right now, this season in my life is the growing season. I have grown from the van trip. I have grown as a person, and I can see that. I'm much more stable in my beliefs, my personality, and what I want for myself. It still haunts me, the question, when will I ever be happy? What is this life all about? Why am I here? Those questions also haunt me, don't get me wrong. but it helps now that I have a foundation to go from. I'm still got to do a van tour to show you guys the whole inside, and I will do a video as well talking about all the costs of a trip, how much the van costs, how much gas I spent on the trip, renovations, food, everything. It's gonna be a doozy, so make sure you subscribe to see that video. Thank you guys so much for coming and watching. I know this was a long video, but I really just wanted to break down what happened, where I'm at right now in life, and yeah, what's happening. Thank you guys for coming. I do appreciate you guys listening. If you stayed till this part of the video, thank you. I hope it was a good story time. And with that being said, I will see you guys in next week's video. And if it's not next week, then it'll be next month. But just know I have not given up on YouTube yet. Still working on it and trying to get better for you guys. Bye.